Great. How you doing?
Good, very good. Thank you.
Well, we are about to get started. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Miss Conversation Peace. You are watching a special edition of Late Night Live. It's not too late. It's still daytime here in Los Angeles. It's a little later in New York where Keith is. But I want to introduce to you my special guest to start this conversation, Keith Perrin Jr. from FUBU and FUBU Radio. How are you doing? I can't hear you. Sound is bad.
How you doing?
Oh, perfect. And we also have Nick Hamilton. He's a media personality in Los Angeles, California, and he has a strong perspective on things as well. How you doing? How are you, Nick?
How you doing? I can't hear you though.
Okay. And we also have Angela White, who is a producer and director, and she also created a film and directed a film that was inspired by Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and the things that we've been going through. So we're going to get into it right here. It's a very informal conversation that I just want to have because we have to strategize, plan, organize because, you know, I had a very candid conversation with my mother. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, where Martin Luther King was assassinated. And that has been always ingrained into me and my family's culture because, you know, that's something that was very traumatic to us as a whole. Not only that, but just being from the city where it was very impactful. And I feel like, you know, that's just been something that has always resonated with me to be active in making sure that my voice is heard and that I stand up for what is right. So I want to just have this conversation and get different perspectives from male and female and in different walks of life. Let's start a conversation so we can organize. So I want to first start with the questions that need answers. And I want to know what each one of you first experience with racism was, because you've all experienced it, I'm sure. So can we just start there?
Anybody gonna go first? I'll jump in. I know for me, it was in the workplace. I used to be in a cooperative program in my high school along with Damon and my other partner Jay, and I got a new job. And when I first went into the job, I didn't see it initially, but maybe about a month into it, I saw how they were treated. And it was actually, it was from a West Indian guy. It wasn't even from a white guy. It was from a West Indian guy, and he was just like the rudest person. And I think I was 17 at the time, and you know, I was just looking at that like, guy, like we're the same color, and you know, we're both black, but yet you act totally different than us. And he, you know, he just, I don't know why he was so racist towards us. I don't know if it was because he was West Indian, but it was just, to me, it was crazy. And a whole another situation happened after that, but that's another story.
So you were 17. How do you feel like that affected your mindset on, like, because one, it's not coming from a white person, it's coming from somebody with your same skin tone, but they're just different culture. So how do you feel like you internalized that?
You know what? Actually, I'll even go back a little further. For me, it was the police. You know, we used to have detectives riding around there. You know, I grew up in the era where, you know, I grew up in the crack era. So you had a lot of detectives coming around just harassing us. So that was kind of like my first initial racism going on in my life. But with him, it was different because I saw him as a black man like me. And when he did that to me, I was like, wow, this guy's different. You know what I'm saying? But I looked at it in a way where I was like, it's cool. It's not cool, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna give him a pass because maybe he just don't understand. And I didn't really pay enough attention to it because I was only 17 at the time. And I let it go. I let it go and you know, just kind of put it beneath me. And sometimes you gotta like, you know, person can't argue with themselves. You know what I'm
We,
saying?
we,
And
we let a lot of stuff go, but we don't get into that more. I just feel like we've been letting things go, and
yeah,
and you see how it's going. So Nick, what was your Angela? What was your first experience with racism? If you don't mind answering.
Yeah, no, I first experienced it in sports, probably at the age of 7 or 8. Very rare. I'm from Jersey, even though I live in LA. Very rare to see a person of color swim, and I was a swimmer. And so the first couple times I experienced it was, why are you here? You know, you should be doing basketball. That's what it was called where I grew up. You should be running track. And so I was heavily discriminated against for about 5 years. The first time I won a state championship in New Jersey, they tried to make my mother and I wait in a different area than all the other swimmers in the entire state of New Jersey. So I knew at a very young age that I was different. Then moving forward, once I got into corporate America, that was another issue. I was like the only one. And they used to call me safe. And I was like, what do you mean safe?
They used to call you safe?
Oh yeah, behind my back, I was safe.
Okay.
Safe, like, we can chill with her. She's regular girl. But we can't chill with somebody else.
You found out they were saying that behind your back.
Oh, you always have somebody that tells you somebody. Someone always tries to be cool at a corporate America and try to tell you what's really going on. But they're the main person usually talking about you. So I experienced it, being from northern New Jersey and even in New York for most of my life before I moved here. People always say, oh, it's so diverse and it's so mixed, it's so great. It was racism left and right. It was a different type of racism, unlike the South, where people will smile on your face, try to work with you, and then you find out later how much they hate you. And so I knew just very early on that it was going to be a battle. Life was going to be a battle.
And what about you, Nick?
First time I experienced it, I think I was 8 years old. I was at a basketball camp, and that was the first time I kind of integrated with like kids of other races, and most of the kids were actually pretty cool. But I think the incident was, I think we went up for the ball or something like that. Kids were tussling, trying to grab the ball, in the heat of competition, and this white kid called me the N-word. And as he called me the N-word, I drew back and I aimed for his eyeball, but he dropped his head, so I busted his nose. And, he's crying like a stuffed pig. So we go into the coach's area, what have you. He tries and the thing that was so ironic to me was that when we were in the office, I heard, his dad call me a savage. And I was like, really? Like you calling an 8-year-old kid like a savage because I beat your kid's ass for saying something he had no business saying.
Mm-hmm.
So fortunately, my older cousin who was grown, came in on my behalf and said, no, we're not tolerating this. Like that boy was wrong. He called him a name that was racist, and he needs to be thrown out of here. So eventually, the kid got thrown out, but that's only because my older cousin had a lot of pull. But the father tried to, I can see as I remember back now, I see where the kid got his racist ideology from because, that's where he was learning it from. So racism is definitely a learned behavior, and they teach it at such a young age where these kids absorb it. If time and time again, we've seen kids where they're 2 and 3 years old, they're black kids, white kids, Latino kids, Asian kids, they all just hang out and kick it. Because they don't understand racism. They don't understand division. They haven't been taught that yet. They can see a kid that looks like them, and they want to go play with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, for me, it's kind of crazy because, like, I grew up in the hood, so I'm surrounded by black people, so I'm not really interacting with other races. So when I went to middle school, I ended up going to a very prominent middle school that I was bused to in a whole different neighborhood. So I made friends. They were cool, like you said, in your experience. And they were cool with me. So they invited me to a party. It was, parents are going out of town party. The white kids got the house to themselves. They got liquor, like stuff I've never experienced in my life living in the hood, right? So then they want to play spin the bottle. So, everybody's being cool. They included me. We playing. Then the bottle gets spin. And you know what? It spins on me. and another white boy, and they like, oh, you gotta kiss her. So it was like that's when it just became weird. He's like, oh, I gotta kiss her. And that was my first experience with racism. So then another instance, as I got into the workforce at about 16 years old, I was working at a hotel, and my manager, she was, nice. She hired me, whatever. She brought her son up to the job, and he was like, why are you so brown? Like, he had never seen a black person in his life. So those were my first experiences. It wasn't very hostile, but it was just it was very awkward. So for me, we've all had very different experiences, but it's all about our reaction, right? So us reacting, how do we feel about how we should be handling situations? Because a lot of people are saying, oh, you should know how to talk to police officers, or you should just walk away if somebody confronts you and calls you the N-word or whatever. How are we supposed to react in certain situations that could escalate into a matter that will we would end up in jail or hurt, or something would be happening that we don't want to happen? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, this whole notion of you have to learn how to act or learn how to police, that's bothersome too, because if you're polite, I've been polite with an officer and he treated me like, the dirt underneath his shoe, but I always handle myself in a manner where I don't want things to escalate. So I already come out, yes, officer, and I've been ticked off when I know an officer is just harassing me, and dude is a little, my mouth could be a little sharp sometimes. But for me, luckily for me, I've actually had one instance where, I was leaving my house. I get on the highway, driving to work. I get on the highway, and I see an officer come out of the parking lot of Walmart. And I see him. He gets behind me. He jumps right behind me. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, let me get out this guy's way. It was a one lane. Getting onto the highway. So I said, when I get on the highway, I'll get out his way. So I went to pull over and get out his way, and he slowed down behind me. So I was like, okay, what's really happening now? So I said, okay, I'm fine. I'm going to work. I don't, have anything in my car or anything. So as I'm driving, he's following me for about 2 to 3 miles. And I'm like, why is this cop following me? What's going on? Then I start to see another cop car, and 3 cop cars, and 4 cop cars behind me. And I'm like, okay, something is going on. I'm getting a little nervous now because I'm seeing all these cars. And then as I take my eye off the rearview mirror, I look ahead and I see a series of cops coming down the other side of the highway and start cutting over, through the through the exit and coming over to the other side. So now I look behind me. I have I want to say about 10 to 15 cop cars behind me, and I'm like, oh shit! What the hell is going on right now? So now I'm getting a little nervous. I think I call my wife and tell her that
And this
the cops
after your, I guess, notoriety from your company.
This was about 6 years ago.
Okay.
This is 6 years ago. I was just leaving my house and going to work. And now I start to get nervous because there's 15 cars behind me. Then here come the lights. I mean, everybody lights went on at the same time. So I'm like, pull over. So I pull over. And as I pull over, I'm looking for, I got a police badge, and I got a couple things in my car. I'm looking for that so I can show them. And they said, put your hands out the window, open the door with your left hand or whatever hand it was, and step back, put your hands up, walk backwards. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? I'm really tripping because I don't know what's going on. So then they finally put me on the ground, put the handcuffs on me. They said I matched the description of a truck that was involved in an armed robbery. So I was like, I was like, well, y'all need to get the license plate real quick because I got to go to work and I don't have time for this. So they went through my pockets. They started questioning me. Um, and at that time, I'm not a person of, I don't boast a lot of who I am or whatever. But that day, that day, I dropped it on them like, man, you don't know who the F you dealing with and so and so and so.
Mhm.
And, it took me for about 15 minutes, put me in the car. I'm sitting there. I'm like, man, I hope I don't get railroaded. Like that was the first thing that went through my mind. It was getting railroaded into something that I didn't do. But then he came back about 10 minutes later and took the cuffs off me. And I guess because I was hitting them with everything like, run my name, Google me, whatever. Like I was really,
Yeah.
because I was pulled over for no reason and I didn't know what happened. And it just looked, the whole highway, they stopped the whole highway.
Mm.
Like, and I'm sitting there like, God.
And everybody don't have that mouthpiece where they can drop their name and Google me, and so that's how we are where we are right now. Sometimes, and sometimes that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I've dropped my name, and cops have told me like, license registration. I don't care about none of that. Just let me give me, come back and give me 4 or 5 tickets at one time just because. But it's a scary situation out there for black men. For black people, I'm not even gonna say black men because they're killing black people. What bothers me the most is it's hard to take a person's life. You have to live with that on your conscience, like, and the way they're doing it, even with the 16 shots, like that man, shot the kid 16 times, like for what? Because he was running away from him with a knife.
Mhm.
So it takes a lot to kill a person, and just to keep seeing it happen over and over again is just really disturbing at this point. And something the other day, I mean, to take up too much time, but I said something on IG, and I was like, we're going to get sick and tired. I think we are sick and tired right now,
Yes.
but it's going to come a point where there's not going to be no more talking. There's not going to be any more, protesting. It's just going to be really ugly. And why let a situation that we can possibly deal with and hopefully make it better get to that point?
Yeah.
Then we're savages and we're this and that. You guys see it on
Yeah.
the news in Minnesota. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the president talking about shooting. Like,
Yeah, if you start looting, we're gonna start shooting. So I want to definitely get Angela and Nick's perspective on things like this because, we have the president inciting violence and calling us thugs, and we have those Karens that they can put their voice on real quick when they call 911 and be like, oh my God, he's attacking me. And they have these tactics, but what tactics do we have? Like, what are we gonna do? And the only way that we're going to have some kind of impact where this is not something like, oh yeah, we sick and tired. You know what? I called my mama today. I was so mad when I saw that video on CNN that I called my mama because I do this. Like I will be out there reporting live, and I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for CNN. I'm doing it for myself, a smaller entity. So they're not gonna probably respect my mind, but at the same time, I asked my mama, this is the first time I ever had this conversation with her because, like I said, we from Memphis. I said, what did y'all do in the civil rights movement? Like, how was it? What happened? Me and my mama ain't never had this conversation, but I was like, what happened? So she told me, she was like, well, the National Guard was driving down the streets. They told us, we had a curfew. We couldn't come outside. If you come outside, you die. It ain't no arresting, ain't none of that. You outside, you dying. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's repeating itself. It's not about we getting tired. They was tired in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever, and we still tired. You know what I mean? So I don't know. What do you think, Angela? What is your perspective?
Yeah, it's just, it's just even like the project that you did called Hands Up. It's systematic. It's been going on since the 1700s. There's nothing changed. So it's like, police chains today, there were ropes before, and it's just repeating itself. And we already know history will repeat itself. If you looked at Minneapolis earlier today, it looked like 1968. It really did. Not because I was then there, but you can look at it from photos. My parents were a part of SNCC, and I remember talking to them a long time ago about repeating of history. And it says if you really study history carefully, everything repeats in cycles, like a 30-year cycle, like a washer machine. And so what's going to happen is eventually we're going to have our own civil war, and it's just going to be a racial war. And unfortunately, that's, to me, the direction we're heading into, because it's beyond people are tired, we're not getting any respect. And when we can't get respect, then we lose all respect for each other, right? There's no humanity anymore. And I think, unfortunately, that's what we're getting, because that's the only time people wake up. You know, I don't condone people looting and burning down buildings, but I feel like now it's the main coverage. So people are going to talk about it. Not because I condone it or I would want to see that, but it's getting people to talk about it. What would happen if nobody was saying anything? What would happen? You know, this is dominating the news right now over COVID. I didn't think anything could dominate over COVID. This is dominating. So at least we're having a conversation. So if they burn the whole city down, that's what has to happen to have a conversation. That's what has to happen. They just marched on the White House literally an hour ago. Atlanta was very peaceful, and then it just turned. LA has a big protest tomorrow. Hey, Minneapolis has a curfew tonight at 8 o'clock. They are not following the curfew. So if it has to be this, then this is what it has to be.
Then the tank's gonna come through.
I mean, she's absolutely right. I mean, you look at it, it comes a time when you have to stop talking. Like, you can't just continue to keep talking. You got to live with action. And sometimes everybody's talking about, oh, you know, I don't condone looting either, but I understand the rage. I understand the anger. I understand when you're in an area where you can't get out of and nobody wants to hear you. Dr. King said riots are the voice of the unheard. And that's exactly, people are tired of being unheard. Black folks are being tired of being unheard. People of color are being tired of being unheard. And so when you have those type of socioeconomic conditions in which you're coming from that are not improving, because also too, remember this too, people are not getting unemployment, people are losing jobs, people are out and about, so people are desperate. They want justice in any way possible. Now, unfortunately, it happened to come at the hands of a cop that killed George Floyd. Same thing with Breonna Taylor. Same thing with Aubrey in Georgia, and countless others. There comes a time where nobody gives a damn about it. If you're more concerned about looting than the actual act itself, then you're sick in the head yourself, and you need to be examined. Because if you're going to come out here and talk about, oh, looting is wrong, this, that, and the third, well, why did they loot the Target? Because Target, as an example, represents the establishment. People are anti-establishment.
We are fucking.
So that's why they went into Target. That's why they went into AutoZone.
Because we are targets. No, okay. But, you know, and let's not even miss the fact that there are some undercover people who are out there destroying property that we're not doing. They're doing it to make it seem like we're the animals and we're the thugs, when that's not true. You know what I mean? A video today of a man who was definitely some sort of agent. I don't know what we don't know.
No, they're police officers.
Sorry?
No, I don't want to jump in on you, but they were police officers. It was an undercover police officer that started that initial burning of the police station. That came out earlier today. So this has been done systematically also. If you talk to anybody who's worked in law enforcement, they systematically have planted people in riots or in protests to disrupt the change. And so that came out today. You guys look. A police officer that was in the riot in different type of clothing last night, and then you see him today in his police uniform. That's all intentional. This is always this. They're doing the playbook. I feel there's a playbook on this, and people are repeating the plays.
And infiltration is. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Infiltration has happened throughout the course of time. During the Civil Rights Movement with the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, they infiltrated there. Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, they infiltrated there. Students of a Democratic Society, they infiltrate. So every movement that has happened from the 60s all the way to currently right now, the Black Lives Matter movement, they have people that infiltrate inside of there. So you have to really be careful. You know, we talk about people protesting in DC, we talk about the people protesting in Minneapolis, and then we talk about the people that were peacefully protesting in Atlanta until a few knuckleheads decided to bust the windows of CNN. How do we know that they're not planted there to cause chaos, to get a bunch of people killed? And we all know who's mainly out there, people that look like us. Obviously, they're all white folks that do it. We saw it in Denver earlier this morning, how people were protesting in Denver, who were a lot of white people. So that's why I said we have to be very, very careful and not classify one race of people and saying, oh, it's all white people are bad or this, that, and the third. It's like, no, there's good and bad and everything. But you got to understand there's white people and then there's racist. There's white supremacists. There's two different sides. So we have to acknowledge that and understand that before we make a generalization of, okay, we're against these people are the ones that are, doing X, Y, and Z to us. We have to strategize. We have to organize. And we have not done that. I don't give a damn. It's not going to take one leader. It's going to take a plethora of leaders and leadership to get together from different sides, whether it's economically, politically, socially, what have you, to be able to maintain and get this thing back on track. Where instead of us, I saw a video today where these people outside praying. I'm like, enough with the praying. Start swinging.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. We too goddamn forgiving, and we always want to forgive somebody, but they don't give a damn about us. They don't care about they don't care about us. The brother here said earlier, oh man, it's got to take a special person to kill somebody. You absolutely right. But see, when you have no conscience, and you have no soul, and you have a black heart, and all you see is racism, and you think that you're superior and others are inferior, you don't care nothing about killing a man. That officer right now, I guarantee you, he could care less about it. It's just another dead NIWGA to him. Mm-hmm. That's all. We're just
you can see it on his face when it was happening that he didn't care. And that's what I really want to touch on the leaders. Now, do we feel that if you are a celebrity or well-known figure that you are obligated to speak up, stand up, be a leader, or in some, be a donor, give money to fund the cause? Because if we're going to be going to jail, we're going to need to get bailed out, or whatever costs are associated with the fight. Do you feel like celebrities are obligated to have a voice?
No, I don't. I mean, not me. I don't put it on celebrities. I put it on the people. You there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm listening. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm having a low signal. I mean, a low battery, so I got to plug my computer.
Okay. I put it on the people. Like you said earlier, like we have to come together as a people. We have to, spend our money. We got to make sure that we're, voting. I mean, that's very important. And you get somebody in there that you don't like, make sure you get them out of there. I think it needs to be a real overhaul too of the political system itself. I mean, there's too many people in these positions for too long, and if they grew up in the era where there was a lot of racism, I'm pretty sure they still have that in their heart. And like you said, all people are not, all white people are not racist. I have a bunch of white friends who I love dearly. And I deal with a lot of white people on a daily basis. But my problem is with, hiring these cops who are either one, racist, or either two, scared to death to be in the black community and to work in the black community. These cops need to be, it needs to be some type of training or some type of accountability.
Repercussions, period.
It just, these guys have 20, 30 citations and shootings and this and that. I mean, people need to really look at that. And if the cop is unfit to be on a job, if you were unfit to be on your job, they would replace you. Right.
You get three. Don't you get 3 times and then you out basically? Like you get right out. In corporate America, right?
Yeah, these cops need to be, like I said, held accountable for their actions, and it needs to be some type of review where, they just are not in, this guy's a 20-year veteran. He just got caught, 20 years later? So how many things has he done? Like, I think they named about 20 that they know about, but how many other things that he's done that
he's got, yeah.
And another thing that bothers me too is, what the hell were these body cams for? I don't understand. It was, we're gonna put these body cams on these police and they will be able to see anything.
Shut us up.
You don't see some of these body cam footage for years in some of these cases. So what is that really for?
To pacify. It's
you
to
know,
pacify
to
the people,
combat
man.
the yeah, but to combat the cell phones. Oh no, this is what really happened, or this is how it happened. You didn't see this. You didn't record this. It's just it makes no sense to me, and it needs to be. And then another thing too, we need to really start putting our money into our community, like building up our community, building up our businesses, building up our banks. You know, getting our own,
Yes.
and really putting
We
it
gotta
in.
hit them financially. And
Yeah,
because
that's the only way. That's the only way. Once you start, you know,
Which
like you said, when you start to burn down buildings and do all of that stuff, they burning down stuff. We got to spend millions and millions of dollars to replace. You know, oh no, we have to stop that. But if you systematically stop spending all of your money into some of these, you know, companies and that ain't doing nothing for you, and start putting into some companies that we can get behind, I
yeah,
think
and I
that's
wanted to touch on that specifically with you just because you own FUBU and well marketing wise and that was for us buyers, right? So a lot of
mhm.
people supported it for a time, but you know, Polo's been in business for several
You
years
know
and we
the
didn't get that
problem.
same love.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of love. You know, we still in business. God, thank God that we still in business now. You know, almost 30 years later. But um, you know, the problem with us is things get old for us. You know, things get whack. Oh, I had that last year. I was wearing that last year. I need the newest. You know, and if they don't want to buy Fubu, it's not a problem. They can buy somebody else. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to buy one brand. But I think with us, we dismiss some of these companies. Like there will never be, and I'm not gonna say there'll never be because I think Off White is like that next Fubu, that big brand. But you know, you have a lot of these companies that will never really get to that level. You know, that 10, 20
Yeah,
million,
we
30 million
had
dollar year.
Rockaware,
You know,
apple bottoms, baby
you
fat,
have
fat forward.
everybody. We were all making
all that,
hundreds of $1 million a year. You know,
but you gotta
but you know,
you
it
gotta
was a
change the
time where people
mentality.
were, yeah, but it was a time when people were promoting that. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I don't think like, you know, with clothing is caused by, you know, we put it out. It was we were thinking about the community. So right, so we saw a ad in the New York Times from Timberland saying that they didn't want black kids or urban kids wearing their product. So we looked at it like, well, you know, we're the ones that's really making you rich. Why would you turn around and say you don't want our dollar? And that's kind of how we were born. Like, what, you know, because the conversation started is like, was like, we need to make something that's for us and that's by us and, you know, for our community and put the money back in our community because none of these companies are
But if
coming back
that
to
was an
support us.
ad and you can read it, why would that's mental illness to me for me to go out and buy some Timberlands after seeing that ad? What do you think, Angela?
So,
Like if you saw an ad in the paper that says we don't want the urban community wearing Timberlands, they are distracting our culture. I mean our I guess mission statement of our brand. Like why would I spend just because I think this shoe is hot? Like I feel like that's the same thing that bothered me about the Floyd Mayweather and the Gucci thing when we were boycotting
Yeah.
Gucci and he was like, well, I like Gucci, so I'm gonna buy it. And he's rich, and I'm just like, why?
It starts with a mindset. So everybody's mindset, you know, a lot of people think all black people are monolithic, right? And we all think alike, and we don't. And so some people are more conscious than others. And it's a mindset. Some people understand the importance of supporting black businesses. I'm a black business owner. I've taken everybody else here as a black business owner. We work for whatever we eat, right? So we understand the importance of our own community supporting us, purchasing from us. There's some people who don't. And I think what happens is we have to just try to educate people more for them to understand, for us to really mobilize. We also have to be financially in place. Okay, there's somebody funding what's happening right now. We just don't know and we just don't see it. It's just the nature of politics. There's somebody underwriting what's happening. And we need to have finances in place. We need to be organized, like has already been said, but we also need to be ready to go. There's a lot that needs to happen underground that doesn't need to be exposed. And at the same time, everybody's not going to be for you. When You talked earlier about infiltrating. A lot of times that's our own people infiltrating. That's the problem, right?
Folk ain't killers, right?
Right. It's our own people. So you can't expect that our own people to all agree to boycott Gucci. There's going to be some who are going to play that role. And that role is needed, to be honest with you. I'm not a little deep right now, but that role is needed. You need to have that role because other people need to see that to understand how serious this is.
Nick, jump in here.
I think it's a mentality too. I think we have to start changing our mentality and how we see things, how we see ourselves. Because I think a lot of times we don't put enough value on ourselves and feel like our value and our dollar is worth what everybody else knows our dollar is worth, but we have yet as a collective to know what our dollar is worth. When you talk about the Timberland situation, you talk about Gucci. That's a sick mentality because you want to continue to support people that continue to oppress you. And my whole thing is, I agree with you. You know, if you want to buy whatever you want to buy, that's fine. What I'm instilling into my son is that I'm a shoe head. So I buy the Jordans, I buy the LeBrons, I buy the Kobe's, I buy all that. But what I've also done is started investing stocks into Nike. So anytime I'm buying Nike stock, I'm paying myself. Or somebody else buys Nikes or whatever Nike article, clothing or shoes, y'all are paying me. So I'm getting dividends from it if I'm going to do that. And I think that's another form of us being economically sound as far as understanding what stocks are, understanding the financial climate, understanding how important it is, what Wall Street is really about, what the S&P 500, what the New York Stock Exchange is about. We got to start educating our kids as well, because if we expect our kids to be financially independent and we expect our kids to be, you know, massive in the areas and what we want them to be better than what we are, then we got to start teaching them certain things that we've accumulated over the course of time. And I think when you look at, you were talking about the clothing companies earlier, you know, Fubu and Shanjan and, you know, Nietzsche and Carl Kanai and things like that, it was a different time because the mentality was different. We took pride in who we were. We took pride and understood our value at that time. We were a product of our parents in the 60s. The 90s were kind of a revolution in our own way, shape, and form of how we thought the revolution should be. Because you had, as the sister said earlier, you had different facets. You had people that were conscious. You had people that were semi-conscious. You had people that just didn't care. And that's fine. That's what makes us so. The fact that we're different, brush, but we're different, even though we are, you know, black people. And so when I look at the Floyd Mayweathers, when I look at people like that, it's like you all are trying to continue. You can't say, hey, this is wrong, what happened to George Floyd, but yet you're paying people that continue to oppress you that don't give a damn about you. You can't do that. That doesn't make any sense. And you're a high-profile celebrity. You're a high-profile person. And to your question, you know, earlier, should celebrities be responsible? No, but do I think they, especially those that come from our community, at least to need to speak out intelligently? Now, some of y'all that can't put two sentences together, learn the vocabulary of science.
Cardi B,
that's the best thing for the movie.
Cardi B sitting down with Bernie Sanders
today? No.
It was about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
You saw that?
Yeah.
Did you see that, Nick?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it, Nick? Well, anyway, I just thought it was hard to watch because, one, it was kind of disrespectful how she had the noise in the background, sound like a party, they smoking weed. Then she talked to Bernie Sanders. Then he can't barely understand. It was just like, people need to stay in their lane, but I don't want to discourage somebody from taking action because I'm a normal, everyday citizen. I have a voice. I have a following. But at the same time, somebody could be like, well, what makes you qualified to be our next leader? But I'm going to do whatever I got to do to start a conversation, to make some action, to plan and strategize. You know what I'm saying? So saying all that to say, where are the leaders? And everybody's not meant to be a leader. Some people can be, the right-hand man or whatever, assistance that the leader may need. So where do we go from here? Because I feel like a lot of our leaders have been taken out. And the ones that were left, like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, they were just figureheads that were paid. Then we have Shaun King.
Informants.
Then we have Shaun King, who is very, he's making things happen, but then there's a lot of backlash from his camp of how he's handling funds. So what is a person to do? Because I do feel like a person putting in work does have to get paid. But when money and it's like, oh, we raised $3 million in GoFundMe, how are we, making sure those funds are allocated in the right way?
You
I
know,
think
that's
leadership.
always go ahead.
Oh, sure. No, I think leadership is a hard question. I don't think it's going to be one leader anymore. I think one, because as a people, we're so different. I think it has to start in your community, and it has to start with who we're putting in office, who we're putting as the DA. If we had the proper DA in Minneapolis, things would have changed. Who is the prosecutor? Who's the mayor? We're so busy on these national elections, and we're not thinking about these local elections. I really think it has to start where you live. It really does, in my opinion. I know I'm very involved here in LA, and I'm like, LA, we're going to put certain people in place. And that it starts at the local level. It doesn't start at the national level. I just don't think the days of the Jesse Jacksons and Al Sharpton, those days are over to me. They're just over.
Yeah, they're over because where are they?
Yeah.
They ain't saying nothing either.
It's like, sorry, I didn't mean to let you go.
But I do agree with you. I don't think it's just one person because, it's a different time now, and what makes me proud right now is to see the young people really step up and take, ownership in this and get out there and speaking up. To me, that shows a lot. But like you said, there needs to be people who are in your community who are rallying a certain amount of people. You're not going to get everybody, but if you can grab about 4,000 or 5,000 people from this community, 4,000 or 5,000 people from that community, and then we all come together, because it has to be something where we all come together and have one agenda, and not be to whether it's political, whether it's voting, whether it's financially, whatever it is, we have to come together and really push that agenda and make it happen. We can't no longer talk about what we're going to do. We have to do it. And when I started killing the other day, and I don't,
The Central
I
Park
don't do a lot of.
hearing?
No, I said the killing
Okay.
George Floyd.
I thought you said
Well, yeah,
Karen.
when
I didn't know if you were talking about Central
check out but with George, watching that for me, and I've seen all the other instances, and I've talked about it on my radio station, but to see that day and how it went down, and the look on that officer's face and the pressure that he was applying, even when he thought the guy was even trying to squirm a little bit, he put his knee so far in his neck to put that pressure on him. I just don't see him getting off. I really don't see him. I know it can happen, and I'm hoping it doesn't happen.
Report? It's been a report. Let me see if I screenshotted it. That they came out with an explanation saying that he had liquor and some kind of drug in his system. He had an underlying condition, and that combined with the pressure is what caused him to pass away. His autopsy reveals that he was not killed from asphyxiation. Well, how do you pronounce it? Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't killed from that. That's what the police autopsy is saying.
That's the playbook, though. The playbook is now they got to put the victim out. They got to disgrace him. Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
No, I'm sorry. You were behind. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were talking. My apologies.
Oh no, go ahead.
Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
No, I was saying that they're already setting it up for the jury. They're setting it up for the jury. They're setting everything up. They're lacing it up. They're only charging with third-degree murder and manslaughter. Third degree, not second, not first, but third. And they're already setting the jury pool, so they know exactly. They know what they're doing by disseminating this information amongst the masses, so they can pick the jury pool the way that they want to pick it. And it's sad to say this. I wouldn't be surprised if he got off. And it's really sad to say this because they want a race riot. I think they want us to, so they can have an excuse to bring the National Guard, to bring the tanks, to bring the FEMA
The
camp.
martial law.
So either you're gonna fall in line, or you go. If you do, here's where you're gonna go.
hmm Well, this is the thing.
That's why I said it's a playbook. It's a playbook on this. It's repetitive. He was the victim, so now they don't be surprised, all kinds of so-called criminal charges are probably about to come out. They have to disgrace him. So when they go to the juror pool, they already have people in mind saying, well, he wasn't a good person anyway, so he kind of got what he deserved. To me, it's just completely following things that have happened in the past. And I definitely think there's a good chance he'll get off.
Well, you brought up third-degree murder. Now, in Baltimore, I forget the exact case because it's been so many, I can't keep up, that the prosecutor went in. She was very swift with charging the officer, and then he was charged with first-degree murder, and he got off due to the fact that he was overcharged. So maybe they're trying not to make it an overcharged situation where that he can get off due to the fact that it doesn't fit the criteria of a first degree or a second degree, but it does fit the criteria of a third degree.
Yeah, I don't mind
I
jumping in
wouldn't be
on
surprised
that. To me, you normally stack the charges, right? You would do the highest charges, and you will make it encompass all the charges. So you have somewhere to go. You start with the first degree, and then you might do a plea bargain if you had to third degree. Starting at third degree, the prosecutor doesn't have many places to go. And so to me, that's why they're stacking the deck. Usually people overcharge.
Okay. What were you saying?
So you make sure you get the
can't.
conviction. Right now, with a third degree charge, it's one thing, if they find one issue, it's going to be hard to make that third degree charge stick.
Yeah, I look at it
You
like,
can't rationalize risk.
no, I said I look at it like they're gonna the third degree murder, if it doesn't get upgraded to first degree or second degree, like you said, I think that charge will be dropped. And then they'll probably convict him on manslaughter, which he'll probably get, 3 to 5 years or 10 years and be out in 18 months, some shit like that, and that's not enough. Like, we have to really, I'm tired of seeing someone's life taken away for no reason at all, and then you want to give a person, a few years in jail, a year and a half in jail. Make any sense? It really doesn't make any sense, and it's not fair. I don't think that people are going to stand for it. Like, we've been doing this for a while and going through these things for a while, and I don't think that they're going to stand for it this time. I don't think we're going to stand for it. Everybody already are protesting all over the place. If this guy gets off, it's gonna be bad out here.
I agree.
Okay, so now we are together. We all have a problem. Everybody has their own level of what I'm gonna do. Whether they're gonna give their life, whether they're gonna get arrested. So what are you gonna do? What are you willing to do? What can we do so that we can start, not just because having a conversation is the first thing, because I've had about 3 conversations since this with people like yourselves who I respect and admire, and we've all had personal conversations, and we all are upset about this. But now, as action, you're in New York, you don't know each other. I'm bringing you guys together, so I want to do more of that. So what can we do, like solution-based, solution-wise?
I think you have to start with your platform, right? We all have our own platforms. And I think we have to mobilize and use our platforms as a weapon for change. For me, my weapon, I'm in the film and TV business. I make films, I make TV shows. That's my weapon of choice. And I love that weapon of choice. Everybody here is going to have a different weapon. So for me, the last film I just did, it happened to do in Atlanta, takes place in 1855, but we end in 2020 because we're showing that racism is systematic, the treatment of Black men, and that this is nothing new. So that's my weapon of choice, is trying to get to the media in my way. I think we all have to use our own weapon.
And with me, it starts with, and it's one reason that I started the radio station so that I can have a voice. And it was more about empowering the people, uplifting the people, giving them information that they may not necessarily have on in the mainstream media. So I'm gonna use my platform to just keep this on the forefront. And I've already been talking to my team about the direction we're gonna go in the next 2 weeks, and how we're gonna shift the narrative and keep this thing right in the forefront. So um and then plus I know a lot of I got a lot of celebrity friends and powerful people I know, and I'm just gonna keep talking about it and not let it go. Like, my thing is, can we talk about these things for a couple of weeks? Things kind of die down, then we try to go back to the normal, and you know 2 days later it happens again, in another state. Even watching it now on the news and seeing what they're doing, and how young people or the people period are just out there fighting with the police. Like,
Yeah.
that's not gonna that there is not gonna make a difference. I understand them, I feel them, I'm with them on that. But that's not gonna make the difference. But you have to kind of fight them with this. You know what I'm saying? Burning down your community and all of that stuff is that's where you have to live. So if you
So what
make
do you
your
guys?
community,
I'm sorry. What do you think made them arrest Derek Chauvin today? Do you think it was the riot? Do you think it was they
it's pressure.
they eventually say, oh, well, he did do something wrong? Like, what do you think if we would not have rioted or burnt things down, that he would have been arrested?
The whole world is watching. I have friends in
Yeah,
Amsterdam texting me, people in London. Like, the whole world is watching. People aren't even realizing they're starting protesting in other parts of the world. Africa is watching. They had to do something, not because they really believe in this. It's just saving face. But they had to do something. America looks a hot mess. We're the leaders in COVID cases. We can't even get the races to get along. We just look like a joke to other countries, to me. We really do.
we have a joke
Yeah.
for a president as well.
Yeah.
The things that come out of his mouth is, you know, it was refreshing to see Obama come in there, and as a black man first, yes, that I never see that in my lifetime. But just how articulate he was, how he spoke, how passionate he was on a lot of different things that happened over the years. His actually, it still is, but to listen to this guy who can't put two sentences together, and it just seems to me like a big spoiled rich kid who always got his way, and nobody ever told him no. And he just looks like a bully in the White House. He's bullying the reporters. He comes out today and he talks about China and all this stuff about China. I just walked away from the TV, and actually I said I'll come back and see what he's going to say about the George Floyd case. And he was done in like 5 minutes. I think 5 or 6 minutes he was done. I was like, that's with all of this going on, that's all he said.
Mm-hmm.
So I just hope, I pray that he is out of office in November. He's done. I pray that we can get this done. Not that I like Biden that much more, but we got to get this guy out of here.
So what do you have to say to people
Well,
who feel like we shouldn't vote? Because I know we talked about the local level, but where we are right now, we have to deal with what we have to deal with. Are we good? We have to deal with where we are right now. So right now we are dealing with the election for president in November. I don't know if in your city if there's a local election coming up before that, but I don't think so. But what do you feel? How do you feel about people who don't feel like they should take the time to vote?
I think that's why we're in the situation that we are in now. I think everyone needs to go out and vote. Everybody needs to be more educated about who's in office. You can go out and vote, but if you don't know who you're voting for, you might be putting the wrong person in a position that could potentially damage, our future. So you just need to be more educated about who's in office and their background, their record, and just, I always say this: we walk around with a computer on our hip, but so many people are so ignorant and can't figure out how to do something that's, if somebody comes to me and asks me something, I'll be like, Google it
Right.
or look it up. Like, why are you asking me? Ask Siri. Like, somebody, ask Alexa. Somebody knows. Like, and they don't even take the time to really, like, you have those people who are like that, and those are the people who mind is spinning. But you have people who walk around with this computer on their hip and have no idea. Do your research, sit down for a few hours, get off of social media, and get some knowledge, pick up some books. Like, we have to change our way of thinking and try to where this country is going. Because if we continue to have that mentality of, oh, I'm not going to vote, it's not going to make a difference, then we'll be here for a while.
Well, I think also too, we got to start with this two-party system, and we allow ourselves, and I'm saying as a collective, to vote quote unquote lesser of the two evils, and that's part of the problem too. Because when you have a candidate that has no agenda for Black people, and has been asked numerous times, what is your agenda for Black people? Then we got to stop giving these people the vote. I know people don't like 45, and I hear that, but you think Biden's going to be that much better? No. Because what is his agenda for Black people? He has yet to give that. There's only been one presidential candidate that's had an agenda for Black folks. He's no longer in the race, obviously, and that was Andrew Yang. We had a definitive Black agenda. Bernie Sanders, every time he was asked, he danced around the question like he was Puffy on the video. He never answered the question. He never was concise. He never gave any kind of indication for Black people, because they don't care about us as people. They just want to vote, but they ain't gonna do shit. And they also too know that we're not gonna put their feet to the fire on anything. You have to treat these people as politicians. I don't care if they're Black, white, brown, yellow, whatever. You have to treat them like politicians. As much as you people talk about your vote counts for only so much, but you have to be willing to put their feet to the fire and say, look, as much as we voted you in here, we'll vote your ass out of here. And that's what they have. We have to take a stronger stand. We don't take a stronger stand. Last election, I voted for Jill Stein, because I'd be damned if I was going to vote for Hillary, who thinks I'm a predator and still has yet to apologize for that. Trump don't give a damn about me, because I know his lineage and where he comes from, his racism and sexism and misogyny. So I wasn't voting for that. So I voted for a better candidate. You talked about having information. You talked about having information on your hip. And that's exactly where I went, which is why at that time I Stein, because it was a quality candidate, and we all have the right to vote for who we want to vote for. But at the same time, this two-party nonsense has got to stop. And the Democratic Party has played on the heartstrings of Black people for years, and we have allowed them to play on the heartstrings without any kind of subject of some type of reward for our vote. What are we getting in return for our vote? Because we haven't gotten anything. In the last 4 years now, we have gotten nothing for the return of our vote. And it would not surprise me if 45 is reelected, because that's how it goes. And we're still not going to get anything. So my whole point is, I agree with you, bro. I think people have to be more inclined and not be so fearful and say, oh, we got to vote Democrat because my family was a Democrat, their family was a Democrat, or I've been a Republican and we got to vote Republican. No, you don't. You have to vote for the best candidate. And sometimes the best candidate may not be a Republican or a Democrat. Sometimes the better candidate may not be the most flashy name, but it may be the best name. And so that's the problem. We got to start we got to start holding these people accountable for our vote instead of just giving it away. We giving away. I mean, how many people were really offended when Joe Biden said, "You're not Black enough if you don't vote for me"? You know how offensive that would be. You let him tell some Jewish people, "You're not Jewish enough if you don't vote for me," and see what happened to his ass. Go any other race that said, let the Hispanic community say you're not Hispanic enough or Latino enough if you don't vote for me, and see what they do at the polls. They won't vote for his ass. They'd be in an uproar. We the only ones that let shit slide because we think it's funny and it's a joke. Only ones laughing is them, not us.
Angela?
Yeah, I definitely agree that we definitely have a broken system, but where I would differ with Nick is, right now we need 45 out. So that's where we're going to differ. And then not because of what we see right now. It's because of what we don't see. All the different legislature he has pulled back. And it's so quiet. You know, what's so funny about 45? While he does distractions. So while we focus on one thing, he's back there signing all these orders, pulling everything back from previous presidents, right? Mm-hmm. And then you look up and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, 45 directed us here, but this was the play. It's like, this was really the play. And so I think with him, and I agree with you that none of these candidates, though, Nick, are giving any type of agenda, a marketing plan, solution for people of color as a whole. And I agree with you on that. But I do feel there's something very devilish with 45 on a different, deeper level. And that's why I'm still going to push people in November to vote for Biden, because 45 to me is doing stuff that's irreparable damage for generations to come. And it's quiet. It's being done quietly. And that's my issue with 45.
You guys, we've had.
You don't think that Biden, who's been the author of the crime bill, who put a lot more black and brown people in jail for minor offenses, you don't think he still feels that way? This the man is the author of the crime bill in 1994.
Yeah, we know he is. I think Biden has changed over time, just like everybody.
That doesn't matter.
No, and I don't think he's perfect at all. There's nobody that's going to be perfect.
No, I said, are you okay with that?
I feel
so you're okay with the man that authored the crime bill that put a lot of black folks in jail and still are in jail as a result of that? Yeah. You still want to vote for a man like that? Yeah,
I still feel, though, there is a lesser of two evils going on here. I do feel that way. I feel strong in that, because if you're going to criticize Biden, you got to criticize Obama, who had him as his vice president candidate. And maybe you have an issue with Obama, too. I don't know. But for me, I was a big supporter of Obama. So he felt good enough with Biden, even though Biden definitely has skeletons, just like Obama has skeletons. They all got skeletons if you look closely enough. But I do feel strongly to get 45 out.
Well, that's why shit ain't going to change.
That's why I feel strongly to get 45 out.
That's fine. I'm not disagreeing on how you feel. I'm just saying that's why the shit ain't going to change. Because we continue to have that same type of mentality. And if we change mentality, that shit ain't going to change.
Right, but just so you know, there's no guarantees on anything that anything is going to change, right? It starts with us personally, right? With our own personal, what we do every day, right? Or no?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, but we know. But see, with us, we know what we're going to do guaranteed. That's guaranteed because we know what we're going to do. But what I'm saying is, when you have the lesser of two evils, which has been played on us for decades, right?
It absolutely has been. Absolutely.
So that's what I'm saying. Again.
It absolutely has been, but if your position is you're going to keep 45 in because of the lesser of two evils, I have a problem with that too.
I'm not keeping 45 in. I mean, I'm not keeping 45 in.
You guys, I really, truly appreciate this conversation. I think we might have to do a part 2 or add some more people into the conversation. I really want you guys to connect with each other. I really want to, go deeper into the conversations that we've had. I really want us to come together and get our plan and strategy out, whether we're doing it in micro, situations or we do it as a whole. However we got to do it, we just got to keep at it. So this was a conversation I wanted to bring all of you all together. I respect all of you and what you guys do, and I want us to be better as a people. So if we got to continue this conversation at another time, we have used all the time right now, and we've had a wonderful conversation. Any last words? Keep it brief that you may want to say.
Hey, let's bring this to the radio station and put this out there in a big way. So I'll follow you guys. And let's have a conversation and sit down and see if we can expound on this a little bit more.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm just happy that we're all talking, and even this conversation shows we're not monolithic in thought. But I think as a whole, we have to come together on something. So I think it's good for us to even start the conversation, because that's how change begins. Mm-hmm. So I think it's good that, it's good to have different thought process, because we need a change, and it really starts with us. So I'm happy and nice to meet both of you guys.
Great meeting you all as well.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you have some comments, make sure you leave them there. You can DM my friends. You can DM me, email me at bbrown@conversationpeacemag.com. You can follow me at missconversationpeacemag.com. Let them know where to follow you at, and we out, you guys. Let them know, Nick. Follow some of your handle, your social handle. I think it's Nick Hamilton LA on Instagram. It's Miss Angela White on Instagram for Miss Angela, and Mr. Keezo.
Yep. KEEYZO.
All right, make sure you join the conversation, and we'll be back with a part 2 on FUBU Radio.
Okay.
Peace.
See y'all later.